You know, shockingly, it would be the fun story would be that Disney was just appalled at everything, and Marvel couldn't believe, was never going to let us do anything. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, money. Yes, there's jokes in there that I personally cannot believe they let us.
The face behind Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, is known for his outspoken nature. Recently, he took a sharp jab at Disney's policies, following Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox, the parent company behind Deadpool. Reynolds found himself at odds with Disney's creative direction. Rather than experiencing a smooth transition, Disney's involvement introduced creative restrictions that Reynolds wasn't willing to accept without a fight.
Look, lady, I'm not interested.
All right, well, I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so upsy daisy. Oh, whiskey dick of the claws. It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.
You don't want that.
Disney's family-friendly approach has clashed with Deadpool's mature, edgy humor, a core trait that made the film iconic. For Reynolds, giving up these unique elements would mean compromising the integrity of Deadpool itself. This dedication to Deadpool's authenticity has placed Reynolds directly in the crossfire of what fans are calling a battle for Deadpool's soul.
These movies in particular, they're made, you know, I think fairly by superhero standards, superhero movie standards, quite responsibly. I mean, we pride ourselves on finishing on time, on budget or under budget, and, you know, delivering the movie exactly how we planned.
From the early production stages, Reynolds made his stance known to Disney. On a Canadian entertainment show, E-Talk, Ryan talked about how the movie was developed to honor what audiences love about superhero narratives, but with that signature Deadpool twist. The character's mix of humor, irreverence, and heroism sets a unique tone, and Reynolds stresses the importance of these superhero standards for Deadpool. Rather than traditional superpowers, Deadpool stands out by blending outrageous comedy with intense action, creating a different sort of superhero standard.
The key differential is that this movie is incredibly warm and emotional, not just so, you know, Deadpool works best on scarcity and surprise, right? So it's been 6 years since we've had a Deadpool movie, it's been 7 since we've had a Wolverine movie, and those work in our favor. So people are expecting the unexpected, and part of the unexpected is that sort of warmth. But really there was one joke, one line that they asked me to take out.
Reynolds brought a sense of creative liberty to the Deadpool films that are rarely seen in Hollywood. Yet, with Disney's involvement, even this freedom had limits. Disney's executives suggested changes, tweaking the film's tone to align with Disney's more conservative brand. While Reynolds welcomed Disney's resources, he also bristled at the constraints, realizing that the studio might not be ready to fully embrace Deadpool's distinctive R-rated style. For Reynolds, these restrictions struck at the very heart of the project.
You and I both, at the get-go, we were like, we're gonna do everything. We love the movie more than life itself. It's both of our favorite movies we've ever done, so we said, let's get it just as slutty as possible with the promo.
In meetings with Disney, Reynolds found himself having to defend Deadpool's edginess. He has spoken openly about the surprise of having certain jokes approved, yet this approval often came with caveats. In many instances, the humor that defines Deadpool was either dialed down or removed altogether. For Reynolds, the challenge wasn't just keeping Deadpool funny, it was keeping him authentic. Disney's brand emphasis on family-friendly content conflicted with Deadpool's subversive style, making this adaptation process challenging and frequently contentious.
Yes, there's jokes in there that I personally cannot believe they let us.
Because we were like the kind of good, you know, good boy students turning in our script every once in a while, and every time we send a script, we were like kind of waiting. And
Reynolds, however, didn't allow these roadblocks to stop him. Despite Disney's hesitations, Reynolds continually reminded them of Deadpool's unique place in Marvel's lineup. He knew that fan demand for a faithful Deadpool experience would help sway the studio. This unwavering dedication shows Reynolds sees Deadpool as more than just another corporate asset. It's a character for fans. Deadpool's success, Reynolds argued, had always been fan-driven rather than manufactured. By championing the fans' wishes, he hoped to push Deadpool 3 forward without compromising its character. Real quick, if you're enjoying this content and want more insights like this, hit subscribe and help us reach these topics to a wider audience. Thank you for the support. Now, let's jump back in.
So, what was the meeting like when you're discussing with Disney the jokes about Disney?
Oh boy.
During production, Reynolds kept a lighthearted tone about Disney's strict control, often joking about the few jokes that Disney did let slide. However, behind his humor was a real frustration. Reynolds had to walk a fine line, trying to maintain Deadpool's bold humor while adhering to Disney's family-oriented image. It was no secret that he feared Disney's version of Deadpool might stray too far from the raw and raunchy roots that made the character a phenomenon. This ongoing tension between authenticity and Disney's polished approach has been an underlying struggle for the Deadpool team.
It would be the fun story would be that Disney was just appalled at everything and Marvel couldn't blend, was never gonna let us do anything. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, money.
Reynolds expressed his surprise and concern at Disney's initial promises. When Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, assured Reynolds that Deadpool's success would lead to broader Marvel projects, Reynolds was cautiously optimistic. Iger's promises hinted at new X-Men character explorations, possibly even an expansion of the Deadpool universe. But as production continued, Reynolds saw funds being diverted toward projects that didn't seem connected to Deadpool. Much of the revenue Deadpool had generated was, according to reports, allocated to Disney's broader diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) efforts. For Reynolds, this shift felt like a breach of trust, as if Deadpool's achievements were being used to support unrelated projects. Although Reynolds has championed diversity in his career, he felt that Disney's prioritization of DEI over storytelling was misguided in this case. The success of Deadpool, he argued, lay in its fearless humor and boundary-pushing narrative. Reynolds worried that Disney's corporate-driven approach risked diluting Deadpool's edgy essence, potentially alienating the very fans who had propelled it to stardom. He believed that by forcing Deadpool into a sanitized mold, Disney would lose sight of the character's raw appeal.
Really put them in a tough position. Because these movies in particular, they're made, I think fairly by superhero standards.
Reynolds has always advocated for diverse representation, but he feels that Deadpool's inclusivity should be natural, not contrived. Reynolds suggested that Disney's rigid DEI framework might overshadow the story. Deadpool, known for breaking boundaries and stereotypes, wouldn't easily fit into a sanitized corporate structure focused on branding over authenticity. Reynolds openly questioned if pushing diversity for diversity's sake might erode the qualities that make Deadpool beloved among fans.
It's meta. I mean, the character knows he's in a comic book movie, but he works in the X-Men universe, so he's dealing with other X-Men. He's talking about other X-Men. He's making jokes about Ryan Reynolds. I mean, it's very, and it's rated R, which is unusual for, Marvel X-Men type movies. I think it's Certificate 15 here.
One key area of dispute involved Disney's plan to add a new, diverse sidekick to Deadpool 3's lineup. Reynolds and his creative team argued that forced character additions could come off as superficial rather than authentic. While open to inclusivity, they insisted it should arise naturally from the story. Disney's approach felt out of touch, as if it were prioritizing brand image over character integrity. This sidekick idea was emblematic of the creative struggles faced by Reynolds and his team, as they attempted to balance Disney's expectations with their vision.
Deadpool entering the MCU, I think audiences care less about universes and they care more about characters and smaller groups of people. We all relate to having a sort of group of people around us.
Reynolds' longtime collaborator, Hugh Jackman, who reprised his role as Wolverine in Deadpool 3, shared Reynolds' frustration. Jackman had eagerly anticipated a reunion with Wolverine under the Marvel banner, hoping to explore grittier themes. Yet, instead of supporting these ambitions, Disney redirected Deadpool's box office revenue toward projects such as the Snow White 2025 remake. Both Reynolds and Jackman felt let down, as though the true potential of Wolverine and Deadpool reunion was being squandered. What will Disney decide? Will they heed Reynolds' advice or risk losing one of their top stars? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more open discussions.